On the campus of Wichita State University, it's Shocker basketball, Shocker women's basketball on WSU TV. It's a Shocker Winter Classic. Earlier tonight, Oral Roberts defeated Alcorn State 76-52. Shane and Denning here at Charles Koch Arena, and the second of three in a row here at home. Shockers trying to build on the UMKC win.
Yeah, an opportunity, I think, just to get a little bit of momentum going as they head into American Conference play. 3 games in a row at home, and the Shockers played well in stretches against UMKC, but now the search begins for that complete 40-minute performance.
And it's more of the same from Rangy Bassard and Diamond Lockhart, the 2 leading scorers.
Yeah, those 2 have been outstanding as of late. You know what you're going to get from Rangy Bassard night in, night out. She's going to be a threat for a double-double and 20 points, and nearly deliver that against UMKC. But this new and improved Diamond Lockhart, looking for her shot, being very aggressive offensively, has really been a boon for the Shockers.
She also tied a career high with those 7 rebounds. Now, if they can continue to get production from these 2, Wichita State will really be on to something offensively.
And it's great because these 2 provide such different contrasting offensive styles. Sabrina Lozada-Cabbage can bang down low. She can bring it out to the mid-range game just a little bit, whereas Jalea Preston offers the Shockers a little bit of long-range threat with her ability to shoot it from behind the arc.
And if all 4 of them get going, that 65-point per game average will do nothing but go up. So Wichita State and Chicago State for the second time all time. We'll take a look at starting lineups when we come back. Shockers in search of win number 4, trying to make it 2 in a row after their victory against UMKC 6 days ago. And Chicago State still in search of its first victory. Taisha Bowers, interesting player for Chicago State, Denning, a true freshman.
Yeah, they pretty much just gave her the keys to this offense from the moment she stepped on campus, and she is pretty much how the offense entirely operates. She has nearly 50 more shot attempts than anyone else on the team, capable of putting up some big numbers, but also has been a little bit inefficient this year.
Angela Jackson is the Chicago State head coach in her 15th season, still in search of that first victory this year. And of course, a lot of experience on the bench for Wichita State as well. Their starting lineup for Chicago State will feature Taisha Bowers, leading the team in scoring at nearly 12 points a game, the only freshman in that starting lineup. For Wichita State, it's Keitha Adams in her first year at Wichita State, 21st season overall. 4 of the players that we highlighted just a moment ago are in the starting lineup alongside Cesaria Ambrosio, a rangy and a very good passing guard. Number 30 there, second from the bottom. So Shockers trying to build on that 72-63 victory over UMKC the other night. And Denning, you hit on it in the open, and I think it's worth repeating. Wichita State really was never threatened by UMKC, but really never put their foot on the throat of the Kangaroos either. I think that's something certainly to look at and work on.
Yeah, I think Keitha Adams had really expressed over the last couple of days that she is looking for a complete 40 minutes. And we saw it in flashes, we saw it in stretches where Wichita State looked like a team that absolutely is much better than their 3-8 record, but we also saw stretches where those old habits came back to bite them a little bit and allowed UMKC to get back into the ballgame. So the search for a complete effort begins tonight.
Yeah, they were actually outscored 36-29 in the middle 2 quarters against the Roos after kind of establishing a bit of dominance in the first quarter, leading 23-10. So they never totally did run away and hide from the Roos and dropping UMKC to 1-8. So here we go, Wichita State and Chicago State for the second time all time. Scott Yarborough, Norma Jones, and Crystal Apolanis will be the officials blowing the whistles here this evening. First of a back-to-backer, Shockers will have Alcorn State tomorrow night at 6 o'clock as the Shocker Winter Classic with a 4-team get-together here this weekend. A lot of activity on campus, of course. Wichita State OU men's basketball tomorrow afternoon at Intrust Bank Arena. And here at Charles Koch Arena, the Shocker Winter Classic. Sabrina Lozada-Cabbage will jump center for Wichita State. And she'll be opposed by Inez Mata-Boix, a Spaniard, averaging about 11 points a game. Their last time out, Chicago State actually gave Valpo a pretty good run, losing by 11, 71-60. Statistically, the Chicago State team, Denning, as you mentioned, as their freshman point guard Bowers goes, so goes the offense, but when she drives up, they have a hard time scoring points.
Yeah, she's had games this year against Loyola where she was 3 for 24 from the field, 1 for 11 against Northwestern, but she's also had very explosive games, 23 points against Jackson State, so a little bit Jekyll and Hyde.
She had 15 the other night against Valpo in a 71-60 loss. And the tip goes to the Cougars. There's Taisha Bowers, who we talked about in the open, just a freshman, 11.7 points. She had 15 against Valpo the other night. Bowers got to the rim, but there was Rangy Bassard, but no Shocker to grab the defensive rebound. And I would imagine, Denning, that there will be a big-time premium on Shocker defensive rebounds because the Cougars don't shoot it at a very high percentage, so you need to grab those missed shots that are likely to come.
There's going to be a lot of rebounds to be had, you would think. Chicago State doesn't shoot it particularly well, either from beyond the arc or inside it.
Tiana Thomas with a quick three-pointer from the corner that wouldn't go. Lozada-Cabbage with a good look and a nice one-handed catch by Rangy Bassard. She usually finishes in there. The defensive rebound goes to Mata-Boix.
Did a good job feeling for the defender's presence on her back shoulder and then spun back towards the open area of the court and just couldn't finish.
Good look to Mata-Boix on the cut to the basket. Inez Mata-Boix, 11 a game, had 9 against Valpo. She got the first 2.
And easily Chicago State's most efficient scorer, shooting 50% from the field, gets her looks in close and is pretty good at finishing.
And Diamond Lockhart finishes with the left hand at the rim. 16, a career-high tying 7 rebounds against the Roos and 3 assists. Got her scoring average just a shade under 10 a game now.
Averaged 3.4 points per game last year and nearly in double figures this year. Just a completely different player on the offensive end.
Johnson got cut off, had to give it up. A little runner, teardrop in the lane by Destiny Harris.
You can see Chicago State likes to run a lot of dribble drive handoffs, trying to get isolated matchups one-on-one and then trying to drive the basketball, and that was a nice job by Harris with the shot clock running down.
Bassard with a feathery soft touch from 17. Rangy Bassard, is it possible, Denning, to have a quiet double-double? 19 points, 10 rebounds against UMKC.
Kind of felt that way, didn't it?
Seemed like it.
She just gets her points night in, night out, and very tenacious rebounder as well. That is where she likes to operate, too, on the offensive end, in the 15 to 17-foot range. You get out beyond that, things get a little more dicey.
If Rangy Bassard scores 13 more points, she'll be 18th on the all-time scoring list for the Shockers. She's got her name littered throughout the record books.
She's got there in just 3 seasons, too. Transfer from Minnesota, had to sit out not only that first year, but then an additional semester through the NCAA transfer regulations.
18 points a game, Rangy Bassard. Good look to Lozada-Cabbage, who dumps it in with the left hand. Lozada-Cabbage had 10 against UMKC, got her scoring average on the season up to 8 a game.
Great high-low action there from Wichita State, and that's very difficult to defend. You have to respect the ability of Bassard.
Bowers answers for her first 2. Chicago State came in at 0-10, but their most recent outing, they gave Valpo all they wanted, 71-60. Earlier this year, they played Illinois to a 10-point game in Champaign. But again, they've had their games this year where they've really struggled to score. But so far, I think Angela Jackson should be pretty happy with the offensive output, that turnover notwithstanding. A dribble drive to the cup, the layup left short by Preston, but Bessard with a rebound and putback. She got 4.
That's what I'm talking about when I say aggressive on the boards. That is just a hustle rebound, beating everyone else down the floor for the missed opportunity.
Long 2 for Bowers. Bowers has 4.
Like we said, she's going to put it up. You can live with that shot, a long guarded 2, but she's certainly capable of making them and is going to get plenty of opportunities to do so.
Well, they've hit 4 of their first 6. And there's a turnover for Wichita State. And Denny and I were talking about at different points, this is not a team that is really efficient, Chicago State. They shoot just 34% from the field as a team. But as we've seen this year, Denny, you get a team or an individual player sees the ball go through the hoop a couple of times, and that could do a world of change.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is let a scorer see the ball go through a couple times, let them get good vibes essentially on the offensive end, because that can really lead to some dangerous things.
Well, Tiana Thomas on the drive to the basket looks like get a couple of free throws, or they call it on the floor. I think maybe out of bounds. Foul on Preston, first for either team. And Shockers with another takeaway. That's back-to-back turnovers for the Cougars. Lockhart got cut off, but got bailed out. Nice quick move to the baseline for Rangy Bessard. She'll have a couple of free throws.
Well, that's a matchup Wichita State has to continue to exploit all evening long. Bessard is going to be matched up on a much smaller defender most of the evening. That time was up against Destiny Harris, just 5'7", and Bessard did the right thing, went right into the body to draw the contact.
Rangy Bessard, besides being a gifted scorer, is an excellent foul shooter. Came in 81.3% on the year and a career 77% foul shooter. That's 4th best in Shocker history. She nails both. She's got 6 early ones. When you talk about seeing a ball go through the hoop, we might see a slew of points from Rangy Bessard tonight with the start that she's gotten off to.
I thought it was a great sign just that she made that first mid-range jump shot. If she can see one of those go through, it typically becomes a long evening for their opponent.
Rosada Cabbage got a fingertip on the pass that made it to the intended target, Mata Boyks. Bowers hits. She's got 6 early.
You can see the quickness. She has a very explosive first step on the perimeter, and when they run that high ball screen with Mata Boyks, you really don't know who to defend.
And the Cougars will get it back in an up and down game. Taisha Bowers was 7 out of 19 from the floor in that loss against Valpo. Timeout on the floor. It's the Shockers and Cougars all even after 5.5 minutes.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Sabrina Lozada-Cabbage and Rangy Bassard both have an assist, one to the other. The two Shocker bigs doing a nice job of the high-low, distributing to one another.
Yeah, I mentioned how Bassard is going to have a height advantage, and that should help her down in the post, but it's also going to help her when Wichita State runs that high-low offense because she can see over a defender, make those passes down to Lozada-Cabbage, who moves very well without the basketball, has a very good understanding of where the defense isn't and where to go. Those two have formed a really potent offensive combination.
Chicago State missed their first two, and right after that we said there will probably be a lot of rebounds to be had. They've made their next 5 in a row. They're 5 of 7 from the floor. The Shockers certainly doing just as well, basically 4 of 7. They made 1 less field goal, but 2 more free throws, and that's why we're all knotted up at 10.
The broadcaster's jinx never
Must
fails.
Must be.
Well, Chicago State's done a great job of pretty much doing what they thought they were going to do, and that's just getting the ball into Bauer's hands, letting her initiate the offense, and everything has gone well so far for them.
Well, they goaded Mata Boyks into putting the ball on the floor, right in the middle of the floor, and the Shocker Littles were there to take it away. Bassard left it short, maybe trying to avoid the contact from Mata Boyks. And here come the Cougars the other way. 4 turnovers for Chicago State. That's hampered them a bit, too. Boy, Taisha Bauer is bound and determined to get to the basket and do a foul. That's Jalea Preston's second personal, and that will prompt Andra Stovall to check in for Wichita State after this free throw. Bowers is a decent foul shooter, not great, 71%. But she has 7 early points, 7 of the 11 Cougar points. You mentioned it, she is a dangerous player. Streaky, and streaky the good kind for her so far here tonight. Splits a pair, and the Cougars have a 1-point lead.
The kind of player you think Angela Jackson can certainly build upon moving forward for this Cougar team. Just a freshman and pretty much has the entire offense at her disposal.
Risky pass. Ambrosio, very good. I mentioned it in the open, Denning, for a 6-foot guard who really looks to distribute. She's a gifted passer.
Yeah, it just helps the offense flow, I think. Has an understanding of where people need to be, where the ball needs to go, and how to keep the Shockers in sync.
That most recent pass was a little risky and got deflected out of bounds. Bassard puts it up, no good. Shot clock is about to expire, but Chicago State will take it after Lozada-Cabbage touched it last. Now the offense a little tougher to come by for Wichita State all of a sudden. They've had no baskets in their last 2 minutes, 40 seconds. And a walk.
Last couple of possessions, we've seen kind of the bad Taisha Bowers after we saw the good in the early going. She's been out of control on that drive, got bailed out with the block call, and then there shuffled the feet, trying to go a little bit too fast.
Stovall. Now Lockhart looking for some off-ball movement. There it is. Bassard drops it off, and Lockhart fouled. Looks like she'll get a couple of free throws. Hyman Lockhart, 15 out of 16 from the free throw on a little give-and-go, high-low action right here.
And even that's a play that I think is very indicative of just the increased aggressiveness that Diamond's been showing over the last several weeks. Past couple seasons, you would see Diamond receive a pass like that. She would circle back around, trying to initiate the offense from out top. This time, though, was willing to attack the basket, went into the contact, and earned herself 2 free throws. And that's just her second missed free throw the entire season
All
right there.
year, yep. 15 out of 17 now. Rattles out at home. She's got 3. The foul went against Felicia Johnson, the Eastern Illinois transfer who played 39 minutes the other night against Valpo. Teams have basically been trading points here in the first 8 minutes, or almost 8 minutes. And another walk, this one by Destiny Harris. 5 turnovers now for the Cougars.
Well, unsurprisingly, Chicago State commits their fair share of turnovers. They have a turnover margin of about -6, so they have struggled in that category as well. And then when they do get shots up, they don't go in very often. It's not a good combination.
Would have been a turnover, I think, anyway, because Rangy Bessard was going to steal that pass. Bessard, a fadeaway hits. Rangy Bessard off to a good offensive start. She's got 8 early.
Nice little jab step there to create some space for her. And as we said, when she is operating in that mid-range area, she is very effective. That's kind of her comfort zone.
And she's just good enough off the bounce, too. If you crowd her from 18,
Have to respect it.
she can get around you. Yep.
Just a very well-rounded scorer. Has a lot of different ways to get her 17 to 20, and she's pretty much going to do it every single night.
Angie Tompkins checks in for the first time, the senior from Florida. Keitha Adams going to her bench, giving, first of all, Julia Preston a rest with 2 fouls and Rangy Bessard a rest just because. So you see how the Shockers operate offensively without Rangy Bessard. Tompkins got around the player guarding her, couldn't finish. I was just getting ready to say, you might see a few extra looks going Angie Tompkins' way with Bessard on the bench, and she got a quick touch. Three-second call?
Yeah.
Don't see that very often.
I feel like you always hear coaches barking for it, and
they
it never gets
get
called.
That's right, there we got one. Connor Harris into the game for the first time, along with Tamara Olverson for the Cougars. Shockers trying to get a little distance between themselves and the winless Cougars here late in the first quarter.
Whoa.
And just like that, we've seen back-to-back 3-second violations.
Unheard of.
That really is. Like a travel in the NBA. So back it goes to the Cougars.
That's our quota for the season.
I would say.
Good.
That shot looked like it was partially blocked. Come the Shockers in a hurry the other way. Tompkins, nice move. Angie Tompkins gets her first 2.
Good example of quick but not hurrying. She made her moves with intent and with purpose, but she knew what she was trying to do, spinning back to that right shoulder and then showing some nice soft touch.
Did a nice job of not picking up that pivot foot, or dragging it anyway. Shockers now by 4, final minute of the first quarter.
Gone to a zone look too.
Normally you'd live with that because Bowers is not a very good three-point shooter, but as we mentioned, she's seen the ball go through the hoop a few times, and she's brimming with confidence now.
A girl who can pretty much carry her offense when she's going well and really shooting the ball with a lot of confidence.
And that's going to be a push against Tompkins after Mata Boyks, I believe, went to the deck and drew that foul on Angie Tompkins and a loose ball.
Been pretty physical underneath the basket in the early going here. Both Tompkins and Bessard fighting for position on rebounds, and that time they got Angie.
Taisha Bowers was 7 of 33 from 3 before that last one went through the hoop. Good job by Stovall to knock it away. Bowers already has 10. Bessard leading the Shockers with 8. She's getting a rest. 7.2 left here in the quarter. And Mata Boyks got Tompkins a step slow, and Angie Tompkins, if that's on her, that's her second. And it is.
Angie looked frustrated, I think. I don't think that was her responsibility on the defensive end. A lot of movement on the baseline out of bounds play got the Shockers out of sorts, and Mata Boyks takes advantage.
Inez Mata Boyks has 3, so Bessard comes in for the last 6.1. Tompkins goes out with 2 fouls. I think there's at least one of those two that she couldn't believe the whistle was blown on her, especially on that defensive rebound, or offensive rebound, I should say. So Mataboik splits a pair. See if the Shockers can get one last shot. It counts. Great job by Diamond Lockhart, sprinting ahead of the field. A great catch and finish. She's got 5, and the Shockers just ahead of the horn lead the Cougars 17-15 on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Chicago State missed its first 2 shots. They've made 6 of the next 7, and Denningham not for 8 turnovers. That's what's been killing them. They're within 2, but if they hang on to the ball, Cougars might be in better shape.
They run some really good offense, a lot of high ball screens, isolating Bowers against a defender and then letting her go to work. It's opened up some good driving lanes, gotten them some good looks at the basket, and they've taken advantage. But yeah, 8 turnovers, including a couple of relatively unforced ones. They've given the Shockers chances, and even though Wichita State's shooting about 20% worse, they have 6 more shots and a 2-point lead to show for it.
They do have a little bit of a foul issue. Jalea Preston has 2. Angie Tompkins has 2. Alicia Fay played very briefly late in that first quarter, but it was pretty much the starting 5 that did the damage for Wichita State. Andra Stovall is going to start the second quarter on the Shocker floor, along with Alicia Fay and 3 Shocker starters. Bowers, starting point guard, will key it in for Chicago State. Bowers had 10 points in that first quarter. She came in averaging 11.7, already has 10. And the Shockers, maybe because of fouls, maybe by design, have gone to a floating zone. And that forces turnover number 9. That's Mataboik with steps. So if this keeps up, you would think by attrition, the Shockers would milk a few more possessions out of this game and hopefully see the Cougars miss a few more times because they've been on.
Well, I like the idea of the zone, and great look there from Ambrosio to Bassard, but an opportunity with the length of Ambrosio and Bassard to kind of alter some passing lanes and just force Chicago State to make a few more passes on the perimeter.
A near steal by Bassard, and Chicago State makes the Shockers pay. Tamara Olverson came in averaging 4 a game, the recipient of the pass, and has a chance at an and one.
And already a much better evening for her than last time out against Valpo when she played 9 minutes and had 4 fouls.
Ambrosio drew the foul. Olverson with the 3-point play, and the Cougars are still hanging around. Ambrosio's first foul, first of the quarter. Shockers and Alcorn State tomorrow evening at 6. Lockhart knifes in and finishes. Diamond Lockhart's off to a good start. She's got 7.
Attacking the empty spaces in the defense and showing a willingness to drive in amongst the trees. Good finish there with the right hand off balance.
There's Connor Harris leading the team in 3-pointers, number 11. They gave her a little space, but not too much. Johnson drives the baseline, cut off. Mata Boyks bailed her out, drew some contact, no call. Mata Boyks dumps it in, she's got 5.
Good attacking drive there by Felicia Johnson, going to the baseline, forcing the Shocker defense to collapse, and Mata Boyks slipping weak side.
And a whistle and a foul. I think that's going to go against Chicago State. If that's against Felicia Johnson, second personal on her, so she's the first Cougar with 2 fouls. She'll come out. Destiny Harris checks back in for Chicago State. And a legal screen against Wichita State. Alicia Fay picks up the foul. That'll be a turnover for the Shockers. Been a close game throughout. Biggest lead in the game has been the Shockers by 4 just a minute or so ago. Rainbow 3 too hard. Ambrosio in a hurry back the other way. 3-on-3. Stovall free throw line jumper wouldn't go. I think if you're Keith Adams, you'll take that shot when you can get that out of her.
You almost wish that Stovall would have just shot the 3 in rhythm. She had plenty of space to do so, but elected to try and upgrade the shot, going to the baseline or going towards the free throw line, excuse me, and just couldn't get it to go, but still a good look.
Shockers still at 50% from the floor, but the Cougars are 66.7. They've only missed 4 of their 12. And this is a big time departure from the norm for the Cougars. That, however, has not been, especially today. That's 10 turnovers for the Cougars. That's really been the killer. And they're dumped down by Ambrosio. She ended up getting it deflected back to her, but was standing on the baseline.
15 turnovers combined now. A little under a quarter and a half for these 2 offenses, which are shooting well, but having a hard time getting into any kind of offensive sequence.
And neither team really has any fast break opportunities to speak of, so it's just pretty much all been in the half court. Gianna Thomas not asked to score much, number 12 on the left wing for Chicago State. Bowers is, and she fires no good. Fay with a rebound.
Fay giving the Shockers some good minutes off the bench. She's can be an impact defender with her size and showing good aggressiveness on the boards as well.
Ambrosio with 10 to shoot. All the way up and scores it. She doesn't look to finish very often. As we mentioned, she's a very good facilitator and passer. Only averages about 2.5 a game, but it's like the parting of the Red Sea in the lane there for her.
Typically trying to go to the basket just to open up opportunities for her teammates, but this time saw an opening and just attacked.
I think Connor Harris was assessed the personal there. Ambrosio's free throw is good. 3-point play for Wichita State. Cesaria Ambrosio from Switzerland has 3 points, and the Shockers have equaled their largest lead.
And a chance now to try and create a little bit of separation with Bowers on the bench. You wonder where the points are going to come from for Chicago State.
Mata Boyks left it short. So now the misses are starting to come a little more frequently. Bessard wasn't ready for the pass, and that's not exactly a high percentage pass straight down the court anyway, even if Bessard was looking.
I wonder if Wichita State just trying to force it a little bit too much in transition. Nothing wrong with getting set up in the offensive end and trying to run a little bit of clock to get a better shot.
Well, they're shooting 52.8 from the floor, so they're getting good shots. There's another turnover, and the Shockers have numbers. And a double dribble. So the turnover fest continues. They go right back and forth. 11 for the Cougars and 7 for Wichita State.
Well, great job by Andra Stovall on the defensive end, but then as she was making her way up the court, I think she got caught in between either passing it cross court or just going all the way. Might have been better served to just keep it with the right hand and go up strong.
Cougars have gone scoreless in their last 3 minutes. So as we mentioned, the shots have kind of stopped falling in the last handful of possessions in addition to those turnovers. And that three-pointer's too hard. They're 1 out of 5 from deep. Stovall's gotten some extended minutes with Jalea Preston on the bench with a couple of fouls. Bessard facing up on Mata Boyks, too hard. Shockers with an offensive rebound. We got a whistle underneath. Shockers will keep it with 8 to shoot. Guess Bessard's shot did not draw iron. We got a timeout on the floor. So Wichita State has 8 seconds to shoot when we come back, looking to extend their largest lead of the first half. Cesaria Ambrosio, most nights is perfectly content to distribute, play defense, dish out a few assists, draw a couple of fouls. Took it all the way to the basket, though, on this little high screen and roll.
Yeah, last time out against UMKC, she had 4 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, and only 1 shot. So not asked to do a whole lot on the offensive end other than keep things facilitated and keep them moving. But she saw an opportunity there, and credit to her for just taking it until the defender slid over, and when she did, it was too late.
It was almost like they were daring her to take it all the way in, and she did. She obliged. So Chicago State now no points in the last 3:39 of the second quarter. Their shooting percentage has dwindled, I guess you could say, to 53.3, but they were well over 60% for most of the first quarter.
You figured 5 of 7 was probably unsustainable for Chicago State, and it was only a matter of time before water found its level a little bit. And it's the turnovers that have just absolutely killed the Cougars. And anytime they're trying to get into an offensive setup, they are having a hard time just getting a shot attempt, as Wichita State's zone defense and just the active hands in the passing lanes really causing them problems.
Well, the Shockers could clean up the turnover column in their end just a little bit too. They've given it away 7 times. But again, as Denning mentioned, they forced 11 from the Cougars, and Wichita State will inbound under its own basket with 8 on the shot clock and leading by 4. That's the Shockers' biggest lead of the half, 4 points. It's got a moving screen.
I think they called an illegal touch on Chapel for running out of bounds and then being the first person to catch the ball.
Not reestablish herself. They were looking for a corner 3 for Jaleesa Chapel, but she wasn't allowed to even get it off. Alexandria Cliff in there for the first time, number 4 for Chicago State, hands off to Bowers. Bowers leaves it short. The drought continues. Offensive rebound, though. Mataboyks threw up a brick. So 2 consecutive misses for the Cougars, and their drought has extended beyond 4 minutes. Although the Shockers aren't exactly taking advantage. Travel by Ambrosio. 9 turnovers for the Shockers.
Well, the good news for Wichita State is that virtually all their turnovers have been of the dead ball variety. Chicago State has no points off of those 9 turnovers, whereas Wichita State has 11 off the Cougars' turnovers. But still frustrating because Wichita State has had chances to open this thing up. It's been 24-20 for a while.
Been sitting on this score for a good long while. The Shockers have now came up empty in their last 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Bowers guarded by Stovall around the screen and a hold on Rangy Bessard, and she's beside herself, literally. She can't believe it.
These officials have been looking off the ball a lot for a lot of fouls, and that's ticky-tack at best, I think, from Rangy Bessard there.
And there's a moving screen. That was fairly easy to see. Mataboyks. So they'll give it back to Wichita State, and Shockers will have their umpteenth chance to get the lead to 6 or more. Just out of the shot. Mataboyks basically just bullying her way into a Shocker. Lisa Chappell. Good dump down to Bessard, who left it off for Lozada Cabbage. There was a foul on that pass on Alexandria Cliff, fouling Rangy Bessard. 4 fouls now in the quarter for Chicago State.
Good look by Chappell from the top of the key. That's a good place to get her the basketball. A senior, good decision maker, knows where the ball's supposed to go.
Bessard, quick 3, got fouled. Back-to-back fouls on Alexandria Cliff. And Rangy Bessard, as we mentioned, superior foul shooter, will have 3. Bessard with 10 points, averaging 18 on the year. First one up and good. 3 out of 3 from the line, 11 points. Texas native, averaged just a shade over 17 a year ago, right at 18 this year, had 19 against UMKC. Rare miss from the line. She's now 3 out of 4. She has 1 more. Harris in for Cliff with those 2 fouls. And Rangy Bessard made 1 out of 3. So the lead does improve, if only by 1, 25-20. And a banker ends the drought that was over 5 minutes long for the Cougars. Taisha Bowers gets them within 3. Tough shot on the baseline by Jaleesa Chappell, and Connor Harris with a rebound. Bowers did well just to keep that one from going out of bounds.
A little surprised Wichita State hasn't extended the pressure out. We saw them flash a token full court press earlier, but with Chicago State not having more than 1, at best 2 ball handlers on the floor, you feel like that's a strategy that could have some merit.
Bessard gave ground, but Bowers scooped it in over.
That's a great finish from Bowers. Used her shoulder to create a little bit of space into the much bigger Bessard, and then flipped it up and in off glass.
14 for Bowers. The Cougars are within 1. 4 in a row for Chicago State. Bessard had it stripped. Thomas poked it away. Shockers will keep it. You would think Rangy Bessard could win basically any one-on-one battle on the block, but the help has really kicked in for Chicago State from the weak side.
And you know that her name's going to be at the top of every opponent's scouting report, and that she's going to draw, if not a double team, a help side defender on every single drive baseline. And of course, you go back to the middle of the floor, there's going to be help there as well. So has to be selective in when she wants to attack because she will get opportunities.
Late in the clock, a foul with 4 on the shot clock. Destiny Harris with a grab. Shockers in the bonus. A couple of free throws coming for Diamond Lockhart.
Bit of a silly foul there from Harris. No need to. With the clock running down, Lockhart was going to have to force something up from a long way away and got bailed out. Well, she does everything else. Why not?
Yeah, why not? To drive the proverbial bus, too, on roadies. Rangy Bassard gets a hand for doing a little mop-up. Diamond Lockhart earlier in the game split a pair from the line. We mentioned coming into this one she'd missed only 1 free throw all year. Overson back in for the Cougars. Out goes Harris. Diamond Lockhart with 8, now 9 for Wichita State as she nears double figures. She and Rangy Bassard have been on a pretty good offensive roll over the last couple of weeks. Shockers lead it by 3. A pesky Chicago State team. Well, they kept it out of Bauer's hands for a pretty good part of that possession. Wichita State did, and I would say they'd be well served to do more of that. Make sure she doesn't get it back.
Yeah, it looked like that's exactly what the Cougars were trying to do late in the shot clock there, was get it back to her and let her run a clock play. But good job on the backside, keeping her away from the basketball as long as possible.
And Connor Harris had a ball handling issue on the perimeter and turned it over. Final minute and a half of the half. Rosanna Cabbage out on the floor on the catch, makes her way down and off the heel, no good. Great hustle by Rangy Bassard to save it for Lockhart, who couldn't finish. And a foul on Rosanna Cabbage in backcourt. Good hustle play by Rangy Bassard. Didn't pay it off, but good save by her.
Yeah, as we mentioned, she just goes after every ball with such ferocity, and everyone else on the court had stopped playing. Even when she saved it back in, it was just kind of a half second of hesitation from everyone wearing white. But Diamond Lockhart had herself a great look. Unfortunately for the Shockers, couldn't capitalize.
Bassard tried to rip down the offensive rebound, couldn't control it, and Bowers back the other way. The lead has been sliced to 1 again.
Has 16 of their 26.
Bassard couldn't handle it. It was just off the fingertips of Mata Boyks, and that maybe threw off Rangy Bassard. Good angle pass from the right wing, but Mata Boyks just got a fingertip on it. And now the Cougars have a chance to take the lead. Maybe just one of those nights for the Shockers. Bowers, a backdoor cut. And a Shocker foul in the lane.
Well, we knew that she was going to have the ball in her hands a lot, but she does a very good job of moving without it. They run her off of staggered screens. They'll run her from baseline to baseline. And here, a nice backdoor cut, just getting her into the lane and letting her use that little bit of space to draw the contact.
Rosanna Cabbage with her second foul. Faye checks in.
Sorry, there's definitely going to be some possessions where they're just going to say, here it is, go make a play. But they also do a good job of putting her in positions to make plays. And that's what you want to do when you have a star like this.
Well, the Cougars have taken the lead. Shockers led 25-20, but have been without a basket for 6 minutes in the quarter. This is reminiscent of the UMKC second quarter. Shockers couldn't buy one. They can run it all the way down. Looks like they're going to try to. Stovall long 2. Well, I'll take it. Good skip pass to Stovall. And Wichita State, with that late Shocker basket, leads it 29-28 after 1 half. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee. Steeped slowly in cold
Water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Shocker Winter Classic has Wichita State and Chicago State in a bit of a dogfight after a rout in the first game of the Shocker Classic. The final shot of that first half went to Andres Stovall, and Wichita State was able to break a long field goal drought with that make. But boy, Wichita State has got their hands full with Chicago State, more particularly Taisha Bowers.
Pretty much doing everything for the Cougars on the offensive end. She initiates the offense, and then she ends up finishing the offense more times than not. She has 18 of their 28 points, getting into the lane virtually at will. Despite being a little bit undersized, she knows how to finish whenever she has a little bit of space, and shown an ability to be crafty while also making jump shots.
Offensively, both teams had their moments of looking like they were in quicksand. The ball went through the basket a fair amount for both of the teams, but they couldn't either hang on to the ball or have a possession without throwing it away.
24 turnovers combined in the first half and 22 combined made shots. Not a recipe for a whole lot of offensive basketball. And both these teams, I think, just looked hesitant at times. There were a lot of unforced offensive fouls that created turnovers. And ultimately, it's going to come down to which team can make more plays down the stretch, which team can get the ball to their playmakers in good spots.
And I don't want to make this about Taisha Bowers for Chicago State, but she's taking the lion's share of the shots. And you look at the stats, they're shooting 55%, but when she's taking well over half the shots, you got a game plan to stop her if you want to win.
Absolutely, and I'm sure Wichita State was well aware that she was going to get a lion's share of the shots coming in, but she came out hot. She was really looking for her shot early, made a couple long jumpers just to kind of settle in, and then I think the Shockers will have to make some adjustments. I like the zone look that they threw at her a couple times just to kind of mix things up. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of that in the second half.
Rangy Boussard is a handful for anybody, Chicago State included. What do you think Wichita State needs to do to get maybe her some cleaner looks?
Well, I loved the block-to-block movement. I love the high-low elements that the Shockers incorporated, particularly with Sabrina Lozada-Cabbage or Jaleesa Chappell. Both are very good passers, so if you can get them the ball at the high elbow, Rangy Boussard is typically going to have a very favorable matchup down low, and if you want to reverse that, Rangy's more than capable of making that elbow or free throw line jump shot, so that's a good place to start.
Wichita State and Chicago State having to deal with a little bit of foul trouble too, so the second half ought to be just as interesting as the first.
Yeah, and really both these teams were pretty evenly matched in just about every statistical category. I figured the Shockers would have a huge advantage in the rebounding battle. They've got the size, and Rangy Boussard has been very aggressive on the boards, but the Cougars hanging around in that category as well.
Well, the Shockers are getting all they want from Chicago State here at the end of the first half, as Wichita State takes a 1-point lead into the halftime.
1 in 4 people will
suffer from some form of mental illness in any given year.
And collegiate student athletes.
1 in 4 people will suffer from some form of mental illness in any given year.
And collegiate student athletes are not immune.
Mental health issues do not judge or discriminate.
They impact all of us.
As athletes, mental health carries a stigma of weakness.
That is the opposite of what we want to portray.
When we experience a physical injury, we have a team of medical professionals to ensure a speedy recovery.
But a mental health issue, that can leave us feeling confused, lonely, abandoned, and unsure of where to turn.
We might feel embarrassed to talk about it out of fear of judgment from our teammates, coaches, trainers, or fans. You all know the sayings.
Suck it up.
You're just having a bad day.
You will get over it.
If you're physically tough, you're also mentally tough.
It's time.
It's time. It's time.
It's time to break the stigma.
The American Athletic Conference has teamed up to bring awareness to mental health this year. In sport and in life, a healthy mind is a powerful mind.
It's okay to not be okay.
Talk about it. You are not alone.
Every day, we're given the opportunity to help create a broader understanding of mental health, overcome stereotypes, and break down barriers.
We can all do a little bit more each day to help eliminate the stigma and replace it with help and hope.
Together, we can make a difference by spreading support, awareness, and understanding.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
And together, we will break the stigma.
Shot country, 1, 2, 3, shots!
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Well, the Shocker Winter Classic, certainly the second game much different than the first. Oral Roberts destroyed Alcorn State 76-52, shot 56% in doing so, but Shockers and Cougars almost dead even. Let's take a look around the conference. The Shockers' maiden voyage in the American. 2/3 of the teams at 500 or better. Wichita State trying to inch closer to the 500 mark, would make it 2 in a row after that win against UMKC a few days ago. We've had a repeat in the Player of the Week category. The Freshman Player of the Week is Mia Davis for the second consecutive season. And you noted at the tremendous name of the Player of the Week for UConn, Denny.
Crystal Dangerfield there, another really good one. Stopped me for that before. A guard at UConn who can do a whole lot of things well. She is fantastic at initiating the Huskies offense, and UConn looks to be right back where they typically are at the top of the conference.
Yep, they were 8-0 as of a day or so ago. Weekly honor roll for Wichita State. Rangy Bessard back on it again after that excellent week she had, more specifically against UMKC.
Sometimes it feels like her numbers aren't going to jump off the page at you, and that she typically isn't going to have those 35-point games or anything like that, but her consistency really is just something to marvel at. The fact that she's going to give you 15 to 20 points and 8 to 10 rebounds virtually every night out, and that recognized on the weekly honor roll, and more than recognized by head coach Keith Adams.
A lot of upperclassmen, a lot of seniors on that weekly honor roll this week anyway. As far as the men are concerned, we talked about a little bit earlier, the Shockers and Oklahoma from Intrust Bank Arena tomorrow afternoon. There you see the Shockers on the top of the heap in the American. December 30th, Shockers go to Stores to take on UConn to open American Conference play. Landry Shamet individually for Wichita State. What can you say about this guy? He had 30 against Oklahoma State. He was Conference Player of the Year. He's on more watch lists than I even knew there were. He's up for, there you go, 5 of them. The Bob Cousy Award, you know, that's a pretty hefty one. And of course, the Wooden Award is Landry Shamet, averaged over 25.5 points a game in the 2 Shocker wins last week. And of course, our boy Hunter Veith, male field athlete of the week in the American, set all kinds of records at the Heskett Center about a week ago.
Really good one for Wichita State and what was a very busy weekend for them here on campus. A lot of sports going on, of course, and a great chance to come out and watch some women's basketball this weekend. Not only the Shockers, of course, but Oral Roberts, Alcorn State getting involved as well in the earlier game this afternoon.
On the hardwood, Wichita State with a 1-point advantage over Chicago State after 20 minutes.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Well, Wichita State and Chicago State, when it comes to the first half highlights, Denning, it wasn't quite as simple as a duel between Bessard and Bowers, but pretty close.
It was a duel with extended stretches of nobody doing anything, kind of. Think of it as an old-fashioned Revolutionary War duel in which both parties had trouble getting the pistols out of their belts for a while, and then finally there were some shots fired, but essentially those two representing the lion's share of the offense. So Bowers with 18 of the 28 for Chicago State, Bessard 11 of the 29 for Wichita State, and the shooting percentage is not bad, but 24 turnovers, that's really hard to overcome.
Yeah, and you touched on this one earlier too. The Shockers caught a real break as Chicago State shot themselves on the foot when it comes to points off turnovers. Normally when Wichita State, you give it away 11 times, normally that means a lot of points.
Only 4 points off turnovers for Chicago State. Wichita State able to get 12 off of the Cougars turnovers, but ultimately fast break opportunities were fairly few and far between, and when the Shockers did try and get out in transition, it seemed to lead to more turnovers than not, as it was just a real struggle holding on to the basketball.
Early on, both these clubs were getting about whatever they wanted thanks to some good passing. We saw a high-low there from Bessard to Lozada Cabbage, and Bessard doing the honors herself there. She was 4 out of 10 from the floor. Got a rest late at the end of the first quarter, and then Chicago State, after missing their first 2 shots, made 5 in a row and proved that they're going to be around to stay.
In a way, I think it was good that Wichita State was able to weather that storm a little bit early, but what they need to do more of is just get the ball into Rangy Bessard's hands. She has shown the ability to take a defender off the bounce from that mid-range area, and though we mentioned how a help side defender is typically going to slide over, there's going to be open opportunities to dish the basketball off and have some others help.
See if the Shockers can cash in, turn in a better 20 minutes than the first, 29-28 here on the American on WSU TV. So Wichita State will have Ambrosio Lockhart, Preston, who didn't play much in the first half due to foul trouble, Lozada Cabbage, and of course Rangy Broussard. Chicago State will have Tiana Thomas, Taisha Bowers to inbounds. Felicia Johnson had 2 first-half fouls. Destiny Harris had 2 first-half fouls. 3 players for both clubs have 2 fouls right now. So the Cougars with the first possession of the second half. The Shockers in that 1-2-2, 1-3-1 zone, floating around. They give Bowers a 3, and she can't knock it down. Offensive rebound will give another possession to the Cougars.
Boyg's really good at doing so, and a great find there on the cut as Harris slid through the lane. But Boyg's one of the best in the country at snagging those offensive rebounds and is pretty much the only rebounding presence that the Cougars have.
Now Rangy Broussard has 2 fouls. Not a problem at the moment, but something to monitor. Destiny Harris, 2 foul shots for Chicago State. Harris had 16 points and 9 rebounds against Valpo, and that upped her point average to 5.1. So that was certainly welcome for the Cougars in a game they lost only by 11. Harris makes both. She's got 4 tonight.
One of a couple transfers who play a lot of minutes on this Chicago State team, in addition to Johnson and, of course, Mata Boyce as well.
Broussard with a high low to Sabrina Lozada Cabbage. Initially, it was ruled that she last touched it. She couldn't believe it, and one of the other officials, the trail official, came over and said, no, she didn't touch it. We'll keep it here. A little trouble getting it in. Lockhart finally does. Rainbow 3, no good. Fired up by Jalea Preston. Shockers get another possession. So just like on the previous end, they get an offensive rebound.
Yeah, that was Lozada Cabbage who did the work. She ultimately didn't come down with the basketball, but kept it alive with a couple of taps.
Great look to Broussard. Ambrosio just got a really good feel no matter where she is on the floor.
Now the Shockers are going to throw that full court press on. We saw Ambrosio with the cross court pass at the end of the first half, finding an open Stovall and doing it again to get the Shockers a basket.
Coach Gehrig asking for that press.
Well,
got a turnover.
They came out with the high-low offense too. They really listen to me.
They take coaching well, these Shockers. But that is a real thing. They're high-low passing, very good most of the time. Broussard, Lozada Cabbage, Ambrosio, all very good passers.
It's so difficult to defend too, because as a post defender, you're taught to try and front whoever it is you're guarding. And when you run that high-low action, then you can just seal on the backside, and it creates an easy passing lane if you can put enough touch on it.
Shockers had a pretty good look on that offensive possession. Couldn't come away with any points. Harris cut off, double teamed. Now she's in trouble. Johnson was there to bail her out. Bowers gets her hands on it. Shockers trying to make it tough. Double team her. And a jump ball will go to Wichita State. What do we have there? Was that a 5-second call or jump ball? Either way, the Shockers will have it. I don't think we alluded to it specifically, but maybe generally in the first half, Denning, I don't know that either team had 3 or 4 really good possessions in a row. It was really fragmented.
I think you're right. And it was hard to get any kind of rhythm or flow to this game in general when both teams were stagnant on the offensive end. Chicago State has more possessions than not where it ends up with Bowers just pounding the rock for 20 seconds trying to make something happen, and that's not conducive to getting good shots.
Broussard, an offensive rebound, a little too strong with a putback. And boy, you can see that coming a mile away. Shockers kind of sniffing around the back door of the Chicago State offense. And a foul in backcourt. Got a little greedy. So, Shockers have had a couple of different possessions to try to make it a 3-point lead or more, but Cougars still just down one. Bessard tried to poke the entry pass away. Step back three, no good. Thomas. Bessard in transition lost it but got it back. Maybe Bowers tipped it to her, did her a favor. Ambrosio foul out on the floor. So 3 minutes and change into the third quarter. The Shockers just kind of treading water. They're up by one.
Ambrosio may be the difference in terms of breaking down the Chicago State defense with her length and her ability to knife in towards the paint, create driving opportunities, and try and find open teammates.
Angie Tompkins in there. She played only 2 minutes in the first half thanks to 2 fouls. That was a tough jumper by Jalea Preston. She almost had it stripped away from her, Denning, and then when you're going up all in one motion, you rarely finish the play, but she did.
Yeah, and turned down a tough corner three, too, to create a slightly better shot. It was still a difficult one, but she has done a good job of driving in and creating better shot opportunities over the last several games.
Tompkins snatches the rebound off the miss by Taisha Bowers. Bowers just maybe starting to come back to earth a little bit. She's missed both of her third quarter shots. Shocker turnover here in the third quarter. Back the other way come the Cougars. And they were crowding Bowers pretty much all the way down the floor. Preston's third foul now. We'll see if Keitha Adams elects to leave her in here midway through the third.
Boy, Shane, you said it earlier, when Bowers has the basketball, bound and determined to get to the rim. You could almost see that in her eyes from 3/4 of the way down the court.
Good deflection by Ambrosio, leads to a turnover. Ambrosio all the way in, dropped it off, got it back, left it short. Two bigs that normally handle it pretty well for Wichita State didn't on the last time down, and Lockhart with an ill-advised pass that sails out of bounds. 33-30, we continue to stay in neutral.
Shockers just really need to slow it down and run an offensive set right now, something resembling basketball, because the last several possessions have not been pretty.
Turning into a war of attrition. Johnson lost it. No call either way. We play on. 12 to shoot.
This zone has the Cougars completely out of sorts.
Oh, Bowers nearly walked. Three
and
from
it
the
all
wing.
works out.
Of course, Connor Harris buries a three and we're tied.
Well, that's a shooter that Chicago State really needs to get going. She had her season ended after just 8 games last year with an injury. Just a 24% three-point shooter, but she's more than capable.
Leads the team in threes. That's her first one. Bessard can't cash in. Tompkins got fouled on the rebound. Well, you got to hand it to Angie Tompkins. She hasn't been in there all that often, but she's been active. She's been around the ball.
I don't think you're ever going to be able to question the effort of Angie Tompkins. When she's on the floor, something's going to happen. She just needs to continue to stay out there and stay out of foul trouble.
Even at 33 on WSU TV. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, Shockers will entertain Alcorn State on the final day of the Shocker Winter Classic. Alcorn lost to ORU 76-52. Chicago State will play ORU shortly after the Shockers and Alcorn State. Here tonight, it has been, no matter what either team has done, good or bad, they can't get away from one another. They are within 1 point at halftime and all locked up at 33 right now.
Just a game in which both teams are trying to find any kind of separation, and offensively it has been a struggle throughout. There was stretches in which both teams have looked promising, but ultimately the Shockers just having a hard time getting the ball into the hands of Bessard in positions where she can go to work, and out in transition, both teams trying to go too fast has created a lot of turnovers and a lot of just sloppy basketball that I'm sure neither coach is particularly pleased with.
5 combined turnovers in the first 5.5 minutes of the third quarter. Now, what we thought would happen finally has, and that's Chicago State shooting percentage is slowly but surely starting to go down. But again, you got to not turn it over and rebound if you're Wichita State if you want to cash that in.
For a team that was shooting 34% coming in, we knew 50% was probably not going to stick around for all that long. But there have been plenty of opportunities. Wichita State was up by 4 to extend that lead, and they did not do it. Chicago State had chances to get a lead of their own, and they pulled it back to even.
Tompkins, a fadeaway, won't go. And another thing, Wichita State not exactly built around the three-point line. 0 for 2, so they haven't even really tried it. Chicago State has kind of dared them to shoot from out there, as we've seen on a lot of baseline out-of-bounds plays. Knifing through the lane is Felicia Johnson. That's another thing the Shockers have struggled with at times tonight, and that's fouling on somebody cutting to the hoop. Haven't been able to give enough ground.
With the size of Tompkins and Bessard, you'd like in a lot of those contexts to just keep your hands up and make them shoot over you. But Chicago State does not have a whole lot of height, and even a driver slashing down the lane, if they run into a 6'1" Bessard or a 6'2" Tompkins, is not going to make it an easy shot attempt.
Saw on the graphic a moment ago that Johnson's a pretty good scorer this year. Average in double figures, had 13 against Valpo. That was her first point tonight. And the rebound last touch, the official said by Ulverson, the big for Chicago State. And now we're going to visit about it. Well, Angela Jackson, the head coach for Chicago State, was pleading for the two officials to get together, and it actually did last touch Rangy Bessard. So the Cougars with a lead have a chance to add to it. Thomas nearly walked. That's their one threat, as Denning was telling you, Connor Harris. Shockers dodge a bullet for now. Bessard got great position and banks it in and one. But she just backed down the player guarding her right underneath the hoop.
Yeah, matched up against Ulverson and had excellent position. She was just a foot or so away from the basket. All she had to do was turn and go up with it. She went up through the contact, gave it her best jump, and was able to finish.
Caught that not on the block, but inside the block. That's what kind of position she had. Rangy Bessard has missed 3 free throws tonight. Normally an excellent foul shooter. The Shockers in continuous command with 3.5 left in the third. Bowers has been quiet in the quarter. They leave her open for 3, and she throws up an air ball.
Shockers got caught in a rotation there in the zone, and no one picked up Bowers, who was able to step into that 3. She may have been a little too open, just kind of overthought it.
Well, again, neither one of these teams depends on the three-point line very much. Tompkins fouled going up. She'll get 2.
She and Bessard can stay aggressive and keep moving towards the basket as opposed to falling away and settling for jump shots. You figure that Wichita State could get Chicago State into foul trouble, or at the very least get some good opportunities close to the basket.
Well, they're in the bonus, and Tompkins now has 3. The lead's 2. Cliff checks in for Chicago State. Overson now with 2 fouls will go out for the Cougars.
Shane, we talked about before this game even started how Wichita State is a very good free throw shooting team. They just don't get there enough. Their opponents shoot far more free throws than the Shockers do and just need to do a better job of getting to the charity stripe.
Tompkins with a near steal. Little set shot, line drive 3 goes in for Felicia Johnson.
Just a 22% three-point shooter, but stepped into it, shot it with confidence, and nothing but the bottom.
Good pass from Tompkins to Bessard. Now the Shockers have got a little scratch going on offense. Looking like there's a little more continuity.
Last 3 possessions, Bessard, Tompkins, and then Tompkins to Bessard. Those are the players who need to have the ball in their hands.
Bessard with 17. Floating to the hoop, unmolested is Thomas. Nobody came over to help for the Shockers.
Someone has to slide baseline there. That was Thomas with the shot fake in the corner and then had plenty of room to drive the basketball. Good finish off glass, but there needs to be a gold jersey in there somewhere.
She drove 20 feet without anybody coming over to help. And the turnover gives the Cougars a chance to take the lead again. A collision at the elbow, ill-advised. Foul by Ambrosio.
Cesaria anticipated well there. She recognized that Johnson was going to go right, but instead of keeping her hands up and just moving her feet, she brought the hands down just a little bit and created that extra contact, which generated the foul call.
Felicia Johnson, 63.5% foul shooter, 2 of 3 now on the night. She's got 5 points. Lockhart replaces Preston for Wichita State. So now Stovall and Lockhart, Ambrosio in the backcourt for the Shockers, Tompkins and Bessard across the front. 2 makes for Johnson, and the Cougars retake the lead. Final 2 minutes of the third quarter. It's been close throughout. Stovall left it short. Where you saw Tompkins working in the post for Wichita State. They just couldn't find her. Ten-footer a little short on the baseline by Cliff. That would have given the Cougars a 2-possession lead. Chicago State's biggest lead is right now, 2. That's been it. Ambrosio, another and 1. Well, she's been ultra aggressive for her anyway.
Selectively aggressive, yeah. She's taken advantage of a couple of opportunities when the lane is opened up, and this time finishing with the left through contact as she drove inside against Connor Harris. Got a step on her and then kept going with it.
It's Cliff's 3rd foul. Ambrosio has 5 points, doubling her season's average. And the free throw's good. So the Shockers with a 1-point lead on the 3-point play by Cesaria Ambrosio, junior from Switzerland. Shockers continue the pressure. Bowers with a tough shot in transition. That's her first basket of the quarter.
That's what you want to do against pressure. Whenever you do break it, you're going to have opportunities, and typically defense won't have more than 2 defenders back. You can go at it.
A rainbow pass by Ambrosio was picked off. Layup no good. Bowers follows no good. The Shockers can't grab it. They'll get the dead ball rebound. Crisis averted, at least for the moment, on that breakaway. Normally, that's a pass that you won't see Ambrosio make. Just kind of a lollipop that really didn't have much of a chance to get the intended recipient.
Chicago State has mixed up the defensive look here, going to a bit of a 1-1-3 zone. They've got Thomas at the top and Bowers in the middle, and it's caused some problems.
And they call a walk on Alicia Fay. I'm not quite so sure about that, but that'll give it back to the Cougars with the shot clock off late in the third.
Everyone who has played for Wichita State has committed a turnover in this game, and only 2 for Chicago State haven't. It has been a bug that has plagued everyone tonight.
Both teams pushing 20 turnovers now. Final 10 seconds. Bowers walked. Of course she did. Now the Shockers will have 7.4 to do something. Bowers now has turned it over 5 times. Now she dominates the ball most nights, so you can live with a few turnovers from her. Wild shot, no good, but it's answered on the weak side by Tompkins. Shockers with a bucket just ahead of the buzzer. A good job by Tompkins to dive to the rim and give Wichita State a lead after 3.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Taisha Bowers has been a little quiet in the third quarter for Chicago State. Likewise, Wichita State's Rangy Bessard. And we got ourselves a ball game. 44-43 at the end of 3. There you see the numbers. The Shockers pretty much all night have gotten more shots up thanks to a turnover issue for Chicago State, but slowly but surely Denning, the Shockers have returned the favor and kept Chicago State in the game.
And they've kind of kept them at bay, but they're definitely in the game. The turnovers have been a major issue, and the Cougars, to their credit, have switched things up from time to time defensively. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep hanging around in this zone look with the way Wichita State struggles to shoot from beyond the perimeter. But the nice play by Tompkins on the offensive board right at the horn gives the Shockers a lead, and a tenuous one at that.
So both teams with 15 points in that third quarter. Shockers with 16 total turnovers to Chicago State 17. But a nice banker at the gun by Angie Tompkins gives the Shockers the lead and the first possession of the fourth quarter. Lozada Cabbage back in for the Shockers. Bessard getting a little bit of an extended rest. Tompkins calling for it. Skip pass, Ambrosio. Underneath to Angie, and she banks it in again. Angie Tompkins really active, and the ball always seems to find her.
Well, she started off with a great cross-court skip pass, and then Ambrosio continues to be aggressive on the bounce, taking her defender into the lane, drew the help side defender, and left Tompkins all alone for the finish.
Tompkins right at her average. She's got 8 tonight. Tend to shoot for the Cougars. Tompkins had 2 early fouls in that first half and only played 2 minutes. But she has continued to stay aggressive. Keith Adams got an issue here, doesn't she? So finally she's given in and is going to let Chicago State inbound it with 9:14 left. Biggest lead of the game for the Shockers has been 5, very briefly. Boy, Mata Boyks just took it off the top of Tompkins' fingertips, but couldn't cash it in. Point blank off the heel.
About as good of a look as you can ask for on what was a gift as 2 Shockers knocked it out of each other's hands right to Mata Boyks, and been that kind of night for both teams.
Inez Mata Boix, the sophomore from Spain, has just 5 points here tonight. She came in averaging 11. So there are a couple of pretty big-time scores for Chicago State that the Shockers have bottled up, at least to this point. There's another turnover. It looks like it's going to go the way of the Cougars, and a foul in backcourt and over-aggressive Andra Stovall. Felicia Johnson came in averaging 10.5. She has 6. Mata Boix averaged right at 11. She's got 5. But the equalizer is Taisha Bowers. She's got 20, almost doubling her average. Now, I will say they bottled her up pretty well in the second half. She's been quiet. I think she had 18 at the half.
You're at it again.
Set shot 3, got her out of it. That's her second triple, and the Cougars answer to tie it.
Well, she's the one girl you absolutely can't lose track of on the backside of that zone. She has shown the ability to make jump shots. She has shown the ability to drive and have to account for her at all times.
Tompkins, a great catch in traffic, and they're going to wave it off on the floor. Boy, good effort by Angie Tompkins. She's been the Shockers' spark plug in the third quarter.
I have no idea how that pass from Ambrosio got through. Just skipped it almost between the legs of Mata Boix, and 3 white jerseys in the area. Nobody got a hand on it. Tompkins, unfortunately, had the finish waved off.
Connor Harris' second foul. And I bring this up only half kiddingly. If the Shockers are going to play a zone, and there's another foul for Chicago State, maybe, and I know you don't ever work on this, but a box and one or a diamond and one.
I was thinking the exact same thing. You have to account for Bowers on every defensive possession, no doubt about it. But at the same time, you want to make every other player on Chicago State's floor a jump shooter. They haven't shown the ability to shoot from outside besides Bowers, so why not?
Mata Boix now has 4 fouls. That's a deal. That's an issue for Chicago State. Alexandria Cliff, who barely plays, is in there for Chicago State, but a Shocker turnover short circuits that possession. That's the Shockers' 18th giveaway. They've both had trouble with turnovers tonight, Cougars and the Shockers. And when you talk about a box and one, something you don't work on very often, I guess when it comes right down to it, if you really wanted to, you just tell Stovall, don't leave her.
Right.
That's how you play a box and one.
Right.
Don't leave her. But we'll see. See if the Shockers can withstand Bowers' 23-point night.
These are the kind of games that can force you into some unorthodox concepts just because of the way in which it's played and trying to find anything that works.
Good weak side rebound by Lockhart. Steals a Shocker possession. Underneath to Tompkins, lays it in. Angie Tompkins had a lot of point blankers tonight. She's cashing them all in.
And that's just want to from Diamond Lockhart, one of the smallest players on the floor, battling for the weak side rebound, and then a great dump off to Tompkins, who, after a quiet first half, has certainly made an impact.
30-second timeout by Chicago State. Wichita State leading by 2 on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee. Steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State has forced 12 of the 17 shots to go awry for Chicago State in the third quarter. They continue to build on the boards. They're +8. But boy, squeezing the orange has been tough for both teams.
It really has. I think the rebounding battle may end up being the difference, as the Shockers have done a good job winning that fight. And Angie Tompkins has finished down low a couple times thanks to good passes from Ambrosio and Lockhart. They've been the best looks that either team has been able to get, and thankfully the Shockers have capitalized.
And Rangy Broussard has been a little bit quiet, partially because she hasn't been out on the floor. But I think Angie Tompkins has more than picked up the slack. She's been good.
Yeah, 10 points in 12 minutes. That's making an impact after how quiet she was in the first half. And we know that when she's on the floor, things are going to happen. They're not always necessarily good things, but sometimes she will make plays that others certainly aren't capable of doing. She is that kind of athlete and that kind of an impact player.
We haven't quite had the scoring droughts that we had in the first half. Chicago State with the ball down 2, 6.5 to go. Looking for their first win of the year. A near walk by Johnson, but she dumps it in on the right baseline. Felicia Johnson has 8. We're tied again.
Still a pretty good job by Tompkins in just keeping the arms straight up and forcing Johnson to go around her. It looked like there may have been a shuffle of the feet involved, but the Cougars get the benefit.
14th tie in this one. Been every bit as close on the scoreboard as you would imagine. Good left-handed hook by Andra Stovall. No, yes, maybe from the Shocker bench right until that settled through the net.
The up and under, too. A nice little ball fake to create some separation and the confidence to go up with the offhand.
Bowers has had a somewhat docile second half after 18 first half points. They left her for a moment. Lockhart forces a tough take, and Broussard gets the ball for the Shockers off the deflection. Good defensive possession for Wichita State.
And you wonder if Bowers just might be wearing down. She's been out there the whole time and is probably going to play all 40 minutes. That's a lot to ask of a guard who, like you said, is going to dominate the ball most times.
Lockhart trying to take her off the bounce, draws a foul. To your point there, maybe Bowers a step slow.
Yep, and it's really hard to fault her. She's had to go 100% the whole way and has to initiate the offense for Chicago State while also spearheading a lot of their defensive looks too. You can go at her when she's a little bit fatigued.
That's only her first, but the third team foul of the quarter on the Cougars, and in the act of shooting, it was deemed, so Lockhart will get a pair. She nails the first. Her nice little scoring run has continued. She's quietly gotten into double figures. Came in averaging 9.9. She's got 10 right now. Shockers by 4. Perish the thought. It's more than a one-possession game. Risky pass, got through to Connor Harris. Broussard was right there. Harris had a look at a 3, off the bounce, hits. Connor Harris, 2 baskets tonight, both of them 3s.
That's just good composure by her, letting the defender fly by, then getting her feet reset, making sure she was behind the arc and letting it fly as the Cougars answer right back.
Cougars are 5 of 18 from 3. The Shockers have only tried 3.
That's going to be all, I think, from Mataboiks.
Yep, they tried to sneak her back in there with less than 6 minutes to go. Mataboiks is fouled out. She will finish with 5 points. Came in averaging 11 and 8.4 rebounds. Now we've got a timeout on the floor. So the Shockers leading by 1 heading into the timeout. You can catch the latest episode of On Pace with Shocker Track and Field. On Pace keeps you up to date with all the latest Wichita State track and field news. This week's show recaps first 2 indoor meets of the season, the Shocker Multi and the WSU Inter-Squad meet. And we'll also count down the top 5 performances of the young indoor season and also catch up with road racers Tanya Nero and Rachel Stuckey. On pace, Shocker Track and Field, only on WSU's YouTube channel. Shane Dennis, Denny Garrett here at half court. The Shocker Winter Classic. Shockers have absolutely had a handful with winless Chicago State. It's 52-51 midway through the 4th quarter. The Shockers trying to give a little help to Rangy Bessard in the second half, and Diamond Lockhart looks like she's going to be the person to try to do it.
Yeah, driving into the lane with the left hand there, and the defense forced to react to it. You saw 3 wide jerseys there with their heads turned, and Tompkins slips free on the backside. And then most notably, there was that last drive going up against Bowers where she just took it hard to the left, forced Bowers to slide the feet. She was a half step slow and drew the contact, got 2 free throws. It's going to be Lockhart dominating the ball, making plays down the stretch for the Wichita State offense.
Angie Tompkins with 10 points off the bench. Diamond Lockhart now has 11 in support of Rangy Bessard's 17. 23 points by Taishia Bowers, leading all scorers in this one. But the Shockers certainly are not out of the woods yet. Still 4.5 left, leading by just 1 prior to the game tomorrow night with Alcorn State. That will be at 6 o'clock. So the Shockers in the timeout, drawing it up with 4.5 remaining. Again, Wichita State tomorrow night against Alcorn State. That's an hour earlier than the one today. That'll be at 6 o'clock. And then Chicago State will take on Oral Roberts in the nightcap to put a cap on the Shocker Winter Classic and wrap up the Shocker 3-game homestand.
It'll be interesting to see what Chicago State does now that Mata Boyce is out there. She was virtually all of their size in the post. Overson, the only other post player who's seen time off the bench, is really going to have to step up in these last 4.5 minutes.
Bessard, kind of an afterthought of a shot, but Tompkins was there, left it short, got her own rebound and won. And to your point, Denning, I think it's going to show up now with Mata Boyce out of there and Tompkins being aggressive in the paint.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of 5-7 players that the Shockers are rebounding against, and there's plenty of opportunities to go after the basketball aggressively. Great job by Tompkins sticking with it against the much smaller Felicia Johnson, going up through contact for the hoop and the horn.
Couldn't finish, but Bessard with a rebound, and Tompkins is there again. Tompkins missed the free throw, but she, again, stayed aggressive, found the loose ball, and the Shockers have their biggest lead. That previous foul was on Alexandria Cliff, and that's her 4th foul for Chicago State. Little runner in the lane, and Taishia Bowers has got 25.
Well, if this ball needs to go into the post for Wichita State,
Absolutely.
whether it's Bessard or Tompkins, force a much smaller defender to make a play.
Destiny Harris trying to check Tompkins now.
They'll go to the zone, but you can't let that deter you. Swing the basketball, you'll get an open look.
Stovall left it short. Empty trip for the Shockers with 3.5 to go. Again, no weak side help for the Shockers on defense, and Felicia Johnson knifes in, lays it in. That's 5 in a row, or 4 in a row rather, by the Cougars to get within 1. I don't know if prosperity was the right word for a 5-point lead, but the Shockers couldn't stand it, and Lockhart fouled on the drive, will get 2 free throws.
Eerily similar to her drive a couple minutes ago, where it's just one hard crossover at the top of the key, and then she's counting on her quickness, beating Bowers with that first step, and drew the contact as Wichita State really starting to get the Cougars into some foul trouble.
Well, they're over the limit, Chicago State is. The Shockers will be shooting the rest of the way. Wichita State, on the other hand, only has 1 team foul in the quarter. Lockhart to shoot 2. And nothing but net. Lockhart with 12. So the Shockers snap a little mini run by the Cougars of 4 in a row. They answer with a pair of free throws. Shockers are now 14 of 19 from the foul stripe. Bowers gives it up. We'll see if she gets it back. Number 10 in white and green.
My guess is yes.
I'd do everything I could if I was Angela Jackson, the head coach, for sure. And again, no weak side help. And Overson, uncontested, lays it in.
I think they were trying to swing it back to Bowers, but the C's just parted there, and the little crossover and a jab step left Overson with a clear lane to the bucket.
And another 3-second violation on Wichita State will give Chicago State a chance to take the lead with 2.5 left. And Keitha Adams wants to call a timeout. Boy, oh boy. Shockers now with 19 giveaways to 20 for Chicago State. So to recap the foul issues, Mata Boyks has fouled out and Cliff has 4 for Chicago State. Shockers by 1, clinging to a lead. Bowers traveled. Or double dribble, I beg your pardon. Turnover for Chicago State. That's her 6th individually and now 19 for the Cougars. Big turnover there. See if the Shockers run a little clock. Ambrosio got to the cup. Tompkins, another offensive rebound and another and one. How many of those is she going to end up with tonight?
Just wanting it more, Shane. Going after the basketball aggressively and being undeterred with all the white jerseys in the paint. She went up strong there to grab it after the good drive by Ambrosio and was frankly just more physical than every Chicago State player down there.
Boy, Angela Jackson's Cougars just can't grab a defensive rebound all of a sudden. And it may end up costing them. They have come as close tonight as they have all year long in winning. And dating back to last year, a nightmarish season for the Cougars. And that's going to be a turnover for Chicago State. And Wichita State has a chance to salt this one away. It's taken a long, long time, but the Shockers are now on the cusp of going to 4 and 8 with a 4-point lead in the ball.
This feels like the possession that could probably do it, Shane. You feel like a bucket here really puts the onus on Chicago State, a team that only averages about 49 points per game. They've already got 57, but the Shockers have done a much better job in the second half limiting what the Cougars are trying to do.
Four-point lead in the ball for Wichita State. Shockers trying to finally put away a really, really pesky Chicago State team here at Charles Koch Arena. Stovall left it short. Bessard left it short. And a foul in backcourt. They had plenty to give, but that could have been the dagger you were talking about before we went to break, Denny.
And it was almost in the same variety of the other baskets that Tompkins has been getting. A layup that falls short and then slipping through on the backside. This time it was Bessard, and maybe just rushed that putback a split second too quickly. She had time to set her feet, I think, and then go up strong, and that was the difference.
Shockers have 17 offensive rebounds of their 36. That has really been the tail of the tape in the second half. Chicago State got to hurry a little bit. And as is pretty much the theme of the night, turnover, and that might be the killer.
Completely of the unforced variety, too. That's just a player coming off of a ball screen and trying to pop out towards the perimeter with a pass that doesn't find her.
And now it's almost as if Chicago State, even though it's a 4-point lead, it might have to think about fouling here, extending this game. They're going to let them go down to the end of the clock. Or not. Foul on the post. Yeah, a hold. Tompkins looks like will go to the line. Overson the foul. Angie Tompkins has had quite a second half. 2 fouls and 2 points in the first half, but she's gone crazy here in the final 20 minutes. Tompkins has 18 points. Couldn't finish, but look at that. Another offensive rebound and a timeout by Wichita State. That's a heads-up call by Keitha Adams over on the bench.
Well, how did Diamond Lockhart get that rebound? 5'4", sneaking into the middle of a couple of trees and somehow coming down with it. And now I would say Chicago State is forced to foul, but they've got so much foul trouble, they may elect to play this possession out.
A couple of players with 4 apiece for Chicago State. Catch the latest episode of On Pace with Shocker Track and Field. Keeps you up to date with all the latest Wichita State track and field news. This week's show recaps the first 2 indoor meets of the season, the Shocker Multi and the WSU Inter-Squad meets. We'll also count down the top 5 performances of the young season so far and catch up with road racers Rachel Stuckey and Tanya Nero. It's On Pace with Shocker Track and Field, only on WSU TV's YouTube channel. So one player's already been disqualified. Cliff and Ulverson, a couple of post players, have 4 apiece for Chicago State. Bessard, by the way, has 4 for the Shockers after that foul in backcourt a couple of possessions ago, but you just play defense, rebound, and shoot free throws, and you figure to be in good shape for the Shockers here.
Well, 29 seconds on the shot clock, 1:04 on the game clock. They can virtually take this down to a half a minute to play. I'm not really sure how Chicago State will elect to play it. I'd imagine they will be trapping, of course, and trying to force a turnover, but will they foul intentionally is the question.
Well, I think you got to foul right away. You got to try to extend this game. It's already a 2-possession game. The Shockers staring down the barrel of really salting it away with any kind of points on this possession, or maybe even without points.
Yeah, they're not even doubling. They're just hanging back in that zone, letting Wichita State pass it around the perimeter.
Boy, isn't this fitting. All the way around. Offensive rebounds and turnovers. So a glimmer of hope for Chicago State after a travel by Rangy Bessard and no fewer than 3 offensive rebounds.
About sums it up, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Effort from Wichita State on the offensive end that you absolutely cannot fault. And Angie Tompkins has been an animal down low in the second half, but I love Ambrosio getting on the deck, the great save, and finding Bessard, but just one too many steps there, and really didn't even need to shoot.
No.
If you circle that ball back out, Chicago State's forced to foul you, this game's over.
Yeah, 33 seconds remain, and without that travel, Bessard dribbles around the perimeter for 2 or 3 seconds, and then he gets fouled, like you said. Wichita State would have a chance to really put a cap on this one. It may be out the gate already, but the way this thing's going, you never know. 62-57 with 33 seconds left.
You want to hear an absolutely bizarre trend. Chicago State has made their last 4 field goals and haven't scored in over 2 minutes.
We had a lot of that.
Is that even
in the first
a
half?
thing?
A lot of droughts. It's funny. It could be that the Cougars start hot, finish hot, but still lose the game anyway. And that's going to be a foul, it looks like, on the rebound by Overson. Got a little physical going through a Shocker player.
Andra Stovall was fired up, trying to get her teammates into this game as they look to salt it away down the stretch. Nice job there boxing out the much bigger Overson.
Andra Stovall to shoot free throws. She's had 4 points. Well, if Stovall makes either of the two, you can almost let Chicago State waltz down the floor and get any shot that they want. Just don't foul. Stovall's free throw misfires. Her first trip to the free throw line this evening. Keith Adams shouting out, no fouls, no threes. Pretty good strategy. Quick timeout, and it's now a 6-point lead for Wichita State, last 23.6. And this isn't exactly how Chicago State's built, but they're going to need to fire up a couple of three-pointers, you would think. Stop by the Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes 2 hours prior to all WSU men's basketball games. Enjoy great game day specials on food and drinks. It's the perfect place to meet up with friends before all the men's home games. And if the Shockers are on the road, you can catch all the games on TV. Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes, lower level in the Radigan Student Center. Denning, Chicago State 5 out of 17. That's pretty much what they do as far as percentages go. But you would think you'd have to draw something up for Bowers.
I would think that if they can't get a drive to the basket off just a ball screen and her just going in the first 5 seconds, that it's got to be a designed three-point play. The good news is they have Connor Harris, who has shot the ball pretty well from beyond the arc and has been decent at doing so this season. But if you can't get that quick two in the first couple of seconds, you really got to look for a three. It is desperation time now for the Cougars.
Bowers has 2 3-pointers. Harris, number 11, and White has 2 3-pointers. You would figure she'll be out there as well. Chicago State has not scored in the last 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And there's been a couple of turnovers mixed in there too. So we'll see what they have. The final 23.6. Shockers trying to hang on. And a foul. Boy, Keith Adams just a moment ago said no fouls, no threes.
They fouled on a three.
They fouled on a three. Alexa Blake, who hasn't been in, I don't think, until just now. That's exactly what you didn't want to have happen. And fortunately for Wichita State, it didn't go in. There's one for Alexa Blake.
That was the 4th foul, by the way, on Lozada Cabbage. You'd like to think it won't matter, but it has made these last 17 seconds a little dicier than they needed to be.
Alexa Blake barely got into the game the other night against Valpo. She is keeping Chicago State in it by bearing 3 free throws. And now Keith Adams wants to draw something up over on the Shocker bench, a 30-second timeout. It's been an odd game to begin with, really from the get-go. Chicago State 0-10 coming in, but still with life. 17 seconds left. going to be a foul on the out of bounds, and that's kind of all Bowers could do. It's all or nothing at this point. You got to gamble, try to get a turnover. Unfortunately for the Cougars there, the foul is going to send the Shockers to the free throw line with another chance to try to salt it away.
I mean, it's not necessarily a bad idea to stretch out this game as long as you possibly can. And if you can get a quick 2 and just gain a point or 2 on each possession, you may have a shot on the last try.
Unfortunately for the Cougars, though, they're out of timeouts. So they're going to have to create on the fly from here on. Lockhart with a big free throw.
And they fouled Wichita State's best free throw shooter, too, which I imagine is not ideal.
Big free throw coming. 2-possession game. Diamond Lockhart, one of 3 Shockers in double figures with 15. Out of bounds it goes with just under 11 seconds. Cougars need points and then a turnover quick. Bowers with 2 seconds left. Timeout by Keith Adams. She's not taking any chances. She doesn't want a silly turnover in backcourt, just hurrying to try to inbound it.
Well, I like that for a number of reasons. One, exactly what you said there, in that it prevents a silly turnover trying to hurry the ball in. And 2, it moves the ball up towards half court, where even if Chicago State gets a steal, with 2 seconds left, their best bet is a half-court heave at the buzzer, whereas if it's a turnover down here, it could be a layup. We could have a tie game in overtime.
In addition to that, pass it toward your basket. Pass it towards your basket. Don't throw it in backcourt if you can avoid it at all. Get something going away from Chicago State's goal. 2 seconds left. Shockers lead by 2. Ambrosio to inbound. Arguably the Shockers' best passer. Bassard got fouled with less than a second left. About all you could do there. He had to foul immediately. Bassard came open. She got shoved, which could be argued was intentional, but in a situation like this where you've got a foul. And Bassard wisely just walked away. Yeah, free throw rolls in. She's had a quiet second half, but Rangy Bassard, it looks like, has got the opportunity in this one. 0.8 of a second. And the miracle heave goes awry. Chicago State came in at 0-10, gave the Shockers all they wanted, but Wichita State victorious 66-63 at the Shocker Winter Classic. Be back with some closing thoughts in a moment.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Shane Dennis, Denny Garrick back at Charles Koch Arena. Shockers win 66-63 over Chicago State. And if you fancy yourself a wordsmith, I'll challenge you to try to describe this one tonight. It's been tough.
I don't fancy myself a wordsmith, so I'll let the scoreboard sum it up. It was a tightly contested game. Both teams trying to hand it to the other, it seemed like, for a large portion of it. Just too many offensive droughts. I think a lot of things that will not please Keith Adams when they take a look at this film. But at the end of the day, it is a victory. And for Wichita State, that is the most important thing as they inch closer to American Conference play.
They'll entertain Alcorn State tomorrow night at 6 o'clock in the final game of their Shocker Winter Classic. For Denny Garrick, I'm Shane Dennis. Thanks for watching tonight, everybody. Shockers win at 66-63. So long from Wichita.
If you can't join us, be sure to tune in